Okay, thanks. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Arkansas State Highway Commission to order. We have all the commissioners present for the purpose of a quorum and doing business today. I'd like to welcome everyone to this December 6th meeting. This will be our final meeting of the year, so it's gone by fast. Before we get started, I wanted to remind everybody to speak into your microphone clearly and hit the on button, so not only people here can hear you, but the people watching via live stream. And then as we become accustomed to, I'd like to entertain a motion to continue using electronic signatures for the signing of the minute orders. So do I have a motion to continue that?
So move.
Motion and a second. Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, next, I believe, is the minute orders from the last, the minutes from the last meeting, not the minute orders. I guess everybody's had a chance to look over those. If there's no changes, entertain a motion for approval of the minutes. Motion. Second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'd like to move on to the minute orders. Again, if you have any questions during the reading of the minute orders, we move through these pretty quick, so just signify you have a question and we'll get you in there. Other than that, we'll go ahead and let Dave Parker, our Public Information Officer, read the minute orders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Minute order 1, as always, simply approves the actions of the Purchasing Committee awards. Minute order 2, this gives the department authorization to take part in the American Association of State Transportation Highways and Transportation Officials Census Transportation Solutions Program for the calendar years 2025 through 2029. Minute order 3, approval to request and evaluate plans to enter agreements with a consultant for the implementation of digital and spatial integrations of all right-of-way records. Minute order 4 allows us to request and evaluate proposals and to enter necessary agreements and contracts with firms for an on-call construction manager general contractor CMGC services on assigned CMGC projects for calendar years 2024 through 2026.
Excuse me, Lori, would you remind everybody about the legislation that allowed us to expand that program?
Yes, in the last session, we were allowed to expand that program. It's still a pilot program,
Right.
but it'll go through 2026. And it's an additional $500 million, I believe, is the amount. And no one project can be over $150 million. And so we're going to, as we go through the STIP process that's coming up, and we're going to identify which projects that fit within the criteria that will be CMGC in the next STIP, and then we'll start working towards getting a contractor on board to help us with those projects.
Thank you.
Minute order 5 permits us to request proposals from qualified firms for the development of the 2025 edition of the Standard Specifications for Highway Construction Manual. Minute order 6. Yes.
It's green now, but when we do the rewrite, it'll have a different color.
I haven't made it through the green book.
Well, it's going to take some time because that thing's that thick. We're hoping to get a little bit thinner.
Minute order 6. This minute order gives authorization to enter contracts with TAP, the Transportation Alternatives Programs, and the Recreational Trails Program sponsors for the projects recommended for award.
Another question. I think I've got it right here. When we give those out, I know it's an independent, it's a group made up of whatever, and I was reading through this, and when it says no funding recommended due to funding constraints. no funding due to, I know there's no funding, but is the funding already been awarded out? So therefore, there's not enough to go around?
That's exactly it. There's only so much, there's a finite amount of funding, and we get more applications than we have funding for. And so the group goes through and evaluates all the proposals and makes determinations on where to put the money for this year. Jared, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, that's exactly how it works, and it's a popular program around the state. So this year we got requests for double the money we had available. So we tried to prioritize those and pick the best project applications that we received. So we're able to award about $17 million worth.
Okay. If they're not ordered, do they just reapply?
Yes, sir. A lot of times they'll apply next year. We'll debrief them and tell them where they can improve their application if they want that. So yes, we work with them on those
Okay,
things.
thank you.
And I just wanted to make a comment here. When we talk about these programs like this, if I'm not mistaken, this is federal dollars, restricted dollars that can only be used for sidewalks and things of that nature, trails. It's not coming out of highway construction money.
That's right. It can't be used for any other purpose.
Okay, and then that we covered a little bit earlier, that AXE, ASHTO, Census Transportation Solutions, that's also research money, right?
That's correct.
That's restricted only to be spent on that, not highway construction.
That's
right?
that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Minute Order 7 out of District 6, Garland County, simply changing property which is contiguous with U.S. Highway 270 from a capital asset to right-of-way. Minute Order 8, Faulkner County, simply declares a certain tract of land as surplus. Minute Order 9, in Greene County, District 10, changes a certain piece of land to surplus property. And finally,
Oh,
Minute
we got
Order
a que-
10,
We got a question.
How do we wind up with homes?
Well, when you go through and you're building a new road, more or less, these are new locations, and it can be widening projects. If we damage that property and we offer to buy that home out and pay them for that and relocate them, that's how that happens. It has to do with us, as we acquire property for our projects, what is the fair thing to do with the property owner? So that's,
Okay, well, I mean, I was noticing on the maps and stuff like that, there are homes. I thought, how do we get into the housing business? And I'm just, okay.
but we damage them. We either remove their access,
Yeah.
or we take too much of the property where they no longer, it's not viable to live there. And if that happens, there's a couple of things we can do, right?
So these today in the package here, one of them, we came through with the project and we had to remove their septic system, so the house wasn't viable to live in anymore, so we bought that home. One of these, we had to make a connection to a city street that went right in the backyard of a home, and so we damaged them so badly that we had to buy them out. And so we try to market those properties and sell them to recoup that value, and that's what we've done here. Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Finally, Minute Order 10 in Dallas County, District 7. This minute order gives authorization to partner with the city of Fordyce to improve the traffic flow of commercial vehicles related to the low-clearance Union Pacific Railroad overpass, which is at Highway 8. The city will assume ownership of Highway 8 from Morton Street to U.S. Highway 79B, and a portion of Morton Street between Highway 8 and South Charlotte Street will be added to the state system. And that is it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dave. Now I'd like to ask our Chief Financial Officer, Patrick Patton, to come forward and give us a report on the state highway financial situation.
Good morning. We will continue. This will be the second time that I've reported on our budgeted versus actual that we'll continue to do. Through October, if you look at the budget versus actual slide up here right now, that's based on our O-chart categories, the director, chief of admin, et cetera. Chief engineer, the operations side is over budget, $4.6 million. That's just timing. Overall, we're under $3.2 million under budget, or 5.2% under. I expect to see the chief engineer operations one flatten out. It'll be seasonal. The next slide you'll look at, it's the maintenance and operations admin and budgetary control or budget construction categories that we have. Maintenance is under 2.1 million. Operations is under 1.6. Admin's over, and budgeted construction is under. So once again, it's 3.2 million under the budget through October. Next slide's the actual revenue comparing October to October. Motor fuel's up 2.8 million. Amendment 101 is down just a little bit, 1.4 million. Registration fees are up. Overall, the traditional sources of revenue, which are the first 5 categories on this slide, is 1.2% or 2.8 million above last year at this time. Overall, we're down 16.2 million or 6.2%. Majority of that being natural gas severance. It continues to lag behind last year. Just as an example, through October of 22, it was 5.9 million each month. So you can take that. That'd been would have been 24 million. Through October of this year, it's averaged about 800,000 a month. So obviously a big swing. Majority of it, when we've looked to see what's causing it, is the price. Last year it was $7-8 a BTU. Now it's in the $2 range. So the caution that you've heard me say before, unfortunately, is coming back, and hopefully it'll rebound and we'll get some more revenue in the future on that. But overall, we're 16.2 million down versus last year at this time.
But Patrick, you've been planning for that and anticipating that gas.
Probably
increase.
since you've been on the
Yeah.
commission. Y'all are probably tired of me saying it. But yes, it was one that I kept cautioning. It could take a big downturn. If it stays where it is right now, best guess would be 12 to 15 million for the year. And that's probably, since I've been here in the last 6 years, that would be the third lowest that we've had. If you look at the budgeted versus actual revenue, motor fuel's 2.5% above. Amendment 101 here is 16.9 million down. That's because this budget is for our main fund. When you look at it from October to October, we're looking at what we received in Amendment 101 funds. Here, we're looking at what we budgeted. If you look at overall, we're down 26.2 million or 10.1% at this point, and the two big factors are Amendment 101 and natural gas severance.
Yes, I just was curious, what is this, I guess, across the board, across the state revenues, the sales tax, is that, we're seeing that downturn right now?
Yes, I was watching something that Dr. Shelnut with DFNA was talking at one of the meetings a week or two ago, and said that in what they're seeing right now, sales tax is down like 0.2% overall. When we did the budget, I thought I was being conservative. It was, over the last 10 years, it's grown 5.5%. I put a 3% growth in it, but with this downturn, that's where the difference is there.
Okay, thank you.
So moving on to Act 416, Act 416 is flat, 300,000 above last year at this time, and also 300,000 above for budget for the next slide. The motor fuel and motor fuel consumption, we are up October versus October, 24.2 million in gas, 4 million in diesel, overall 28.4 million gallons of fuel consumed, more than October of last year. If you look at the 12-month comparison, you can kind of see same type thing. We're up 2.53% in gas, 2.2% in diesel, and overall 2.4% in consumption with a rolling 12 months. Is there any questions?
Any questions for Patrick before you? Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
Okay, now I'd like to turn things over to Director Tudor.
Thank you, Chairman. Next, we have Kevin Thornton, our Chief of Administration, to give you a federal and state legislative update.
Thank you, Director Tudor. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. As a reminder, we entered federal fiscal year 2024 on October 1st. Since that time, we have been operating under continuing resolutions, or CRs. The first CR expired on November the 17th. While Congress and the President could not agree on an appropriations or spending bill for all of 2024, they were able to agree on a second CR. This CR provides federal funding until January 19th. One of the significant reasons for Congress not agreeing to an appropriations bill for 24 is that there continues to be a disagreement in the House regarding spending levels. Some members want to reduce the amount, while others want to keep it at previously agreed to levels. And just over the last couple of days, there has been reports of a softening from the members that wanted to cut. So it is hopeful that that will lead to an agreement in the near future for 2024. Of course, Congress will need to reach an agreement on this issue if and when we're able to have funding for the entire federal year. Director Tudor, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions? All right. Next up, we have Crystal Woods, our Assistant Chief of Administration, to give you an update on our efficiency review implementation.
Good morning. I'd like to give you a brief update on our continued efforts to implement the 13 recommendations from the Arkansas Legislative Council efficiency study of the department. I have 2 examples to share with you of the progress we reported to the Highway Commission Review and Advisory Subcommittee in November. Recommendation number 2 said we should strengthen knowledge management in anticipation of increased retirement. A knowledge management steering committee has been established to ensure alignment with current processes and provide support for the growth of the knowledge management program. The steering committee will perform its first annual review of the program in the first quarter of calendar year 2024 and every year thereafter. Recommendation number 4 said we should implement a platform that tracks all stakeholder inquiries to resolution. As you know, Ask RDOT was made available to the public in October. The portal can be accessed from our main website, and there's also a link on iDrive Arkansas. We've also implemented a customer satisfaction survey so users can give us feedback once their inquiry has been answered. At the last commission meeting, I reported that the Inspector General's Office of Internal Audit had submitted its annual report to HCRAS. At that time, HCRAS had not reviewed the report, but HCRAS did meet on November 13th, and one of the items on their agenda was to review OIG's report. As previously reported, the report was positive and recognized RDOT for making substantial progress in implementing Guidehouse recommendations. The state auditors also concluded that RDOT has strong internal controls in place and recognized our chief auditor for having a wealth of knowledge and for having 3 dedicated staff members who administer the control self-assessment on a continual basis. For these reasons, the state auditors told the members of the subcommittee that they believe there's a duplication of efforts between what they performed in their engagement with us and our continuous implementation of the control self-assessment. Therefore, the state auditors asked the subcommittee to consider eliminating the consulting component of their engagement as we go forward. We consider this a compliment, not only to the chief auditor and her staff, but to RDOT as a whole for the work that we're doing to reduce risk. However, the subcommittee decided to table the recommendation until they had more members present. So, of course, we will continue working with the Inspector General's Office of Internal Audit to help them fulfill their obligations.
I had a question on
Yes.
that. If I'm not mistaken, that was included in the legislation that created the committee, so that would we have to go back and amend the legislation? Have you looked into it that far to eliminate that requirement?
Kevin Mike could answer. I'm not sure if that consulting portion of their engagement is part of legislation or if that was something that HCRAS.
Part of the rules associated with the
Well,
legislation.
we can find out later. That
Yeah,
just kind
there-
of occurred to me.
There were 2 parts to it. Part of it was in the rules
Right.
that they wrote, and then the other part was in the legislation, and so that's part of what we need to look into.
I
to
just
see-
remember a requirement from
Right.
Inspector General being in the legislation.
Yes, yes. And I'm not sure if that was just to do the review of our implementation of the efficiency review, or if it also included the risk assessment
Okay.
aspect of it as well.
Okay, just curious. Thank you.
But that's a good question, because we're in the process of putting together a
Right.
list for the 2025 legislative session. So that's a good point to make, that we need to be sure if we need to add that.
If we get the green light on that from the committee,
Yes,
we need to be prepared for that.
right, that's good.
And that concludes my report, if there's
Thank
any other
you.
questions.
Thank you, Crystal. Next, I'll ask Kelly Wiley to come up and give you a bid letting update. She's our Assistant Chief Engineer of Program Delivery.
Thank you, Director Tudor, Mr. Chairman, and Commissioners. Since your last meeting in October, we held a successful bid letting on November 1st. This letting awarded 39 projects amounting to over $526 million and included several high-profile projects. As the last meeting of the year, we now know that we have awarded a total of 267 projects, amounting to approximately $1.5 billion in 2023. Starting in November's letting, the department's 2024 pavement preservation program got kicked off by awarding 22 projects, totaling more than $100 million. That will provide improvements to over 153 miles of state highways. As I just mentioned, in November, we awarded 39 projects for $526 million. There were 68 bids submitted from 35 different contractors. Of the 39 total projects, bids were received on all but 3 projects, and all bids were rejected on 3 projects. The largest job awarded in the November letting is this project that will construct the next phase of the Springdale Bypass between Highway 412 and Highway 112 in Benton and Washington counties. This project will construct approximately 7 miles of 4-lane divided highway and will include an interchange for the Northwest Arkansas National Airport Connector Road, which is currently advertised for the January 2024 letting. Once completed, half of the Springdale Bypass will be open, providing a more efficient connection between Western Highway 412 and I-49. To celebrate our continued progress on this priority route, a groundbreaking will be scheduled for early next year. This project is scheduled to be completed in early 2026. Next up, this $117 million project awarded in November, will continue the widening of Highway 67 to 6 lanes from Highway 5 to Highway 89 in Cabot. With the days bid on this project, this work should be completed in early 2027. This next project will construct the 1.1-mile Greenwood bypass. This project also includes pavement preservation on Highway 10 through Greenwood and the construction of 5 bridges. The City of Greenwood has partnered with the department by providing $5 million towards the overall project cost and will assume ownership and responsibility of the bypass portions of state highways upon completion of the project. This project is expected to be completed in mid-2026.
And we'll have to have a groundbreaking for that project. There's a lot of excitement around that work.
This next project will resurface I-49 between the Crawford County line and Highway 62 in Fayetteville. This project will also include polymer overlay on 20 bridges along this route. This work will mostly be completed at night to reduce traffic impacts. With the time bid by the contractor, this work should be completed in early 2025. Moving back to Central Arkansas, this next project will continue the widening of the Highway 5 corridor to provide 4 travel lanes, a 2-way left turn lane, and bike lanes between I-30 and Alcoa Road in Benton. This work should be completed in late 2024. In the northeast part of the state, this project will replace 3 structures on Highway 166 in Randolph County. These improvements are scheduled to be completed by late 2027. The last projects I will discuss are 2 pavement preservation projects on Highway 71 in southwest Arkansas. These projects will resurface the highway between Wilton and Locksburg and Little River in Sevier County. This work should be completed by late next year. Looking ahead, there are currently 73 projects slated for the January 17th bid letting, including the new X&A access road that I mentioned earlier. 31 of these projects are highway projects and 42 are state aid projects. This letting will include 26 projects to continue the department's 2024 pavement preservation program. This concludes my report, Director Tudor.
Thank you, Kelly. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, next up, we have Rex Vines, our Chief Engineer of Operations, to give us an update on maintenance activities across the state.
Morning, thank you, Director, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. As I presented in the last meeting, maintenance activities are seasonal, so as there's only been, we're not on. How's that? Is that better? Sorry about that. As I presented in the last meeting, there's only maintenance activities are very seasonal. So since it's only been a few weeks, we thought we'd take this opportunity to highlight a few items that maintenance does that we didn't get to in the previous meetings. I mentioned in our last meeting also the last 5 years of pavement preservation jobs, our sealing and leveling program that maintenance performs. The planning and development for the 2025 district sealing and leveling program is currently underway. This map shows the routes that are planned to be addressed in the next sealing season, which covers 466 miles of state highways. We begin this planning this time of year. We start making our calculations. We get our materials estimated. We split the bids early in the year, and we start working on construction easements for stockpile locations, start preparing those and doing leveling. So this work will begin in the warmer part of the season next year, but we begin working on that now. Yes, sir.
Tell us what leveling is.
Okay, leveling is just it's a thin lift of asphalt, of hot mix asphalt, used to provide a more uniform surface to be sure we have right cross grade, cross slope, and smooth ride prior to the chip seal. Okay. Another thing that maintenance does is the department regularly receives requests for safety improvements on specific locations across the state. RDOT Maintenance Division has a team of 4 investigators that look at each one of these. They conduct safety reviews, speed studies, traffic investigations as they come in across the state. For each request, our investigators review the latest available crash data. They conduct on-site reviews. They monitor traffic movements. They monitor traffic speed and existing traffic control devices. Then they take this information, they compile together and use an engineering judgment and best practices. They make recommendations to either improve or enhance the safety in each of these locations. In 2023, we have completed 450 traffic investigations as of December 4th, which is approximately 20% increase over last year. Another ongoing effort to improve safety is a decision we recently made to begin using contrast pavement markings on concrete pavement. This helps. It's as you can see on the picture there, had the black stripes that follow the white skip lines. This helps to make those skips more visible during adverse weather or during low sun glare. When we have a lot of sun glare, that sometimes you lose the white skip on the concrete pavement. So this black helps you to maintain your lane and makes it much safer. Federal Highway Administration study found that these contrast pavement markings reduce total crashes by 12 to 29%, depending on the type of highway it is. And also the fatal injury crashes were decreased from 7 to 19%. We also anticipate that this will help with the, as automotive industry increases their technology, we have the lane keeping, lane assist, that it will help the computers on that to maintain the lanes. This will affect 380 centerline miles of multi-lane concrete highway on our system, and we anticipate refreshing these every 4 years.
Rex, what is our overall readiness with those lane assist technologies
Well,
as a state?
We refresh our pavement markings every 2 years. So every other year we do have the system. So, and that's what industry has told us is the primary need is to make sure our striping, the edge lines and center lines are striped and visible for the computer system to recognize it. So I think we're in really good shape. Yeah, thank you. We do have 35 other states currently utilize this type of contrast pavement marking on concrete pavements. Another little-known function performed by the department is pavement profiling and milling. We have currently 2 milling machines that operate statewide performing pavement profiling to improve riding surface or milling in preparation for asphalt overlays. So far this year, this crew has performed 634,000 square yards of profiling and milling, which equates to 120 football fields.
Rex?
Yes, sir.
I was going to Oklahoma City the other day, and as I went from Siloam into the, what's that toll road there that goes to Tulsa, they had this, it looked like the lanes had been milled intermittently in narrow strips, I guess, all the way across, and just kind of a dash, and real light. And I was looking at that, trying to figure out what they were trying to do.
Was it transverse to the center line, or was it along the center line?
Parallel to the center line, and it would go across, and they were just intermittent, but they were pretty consistent. And I thought maybe it had something to do with water draining or something. I don't know. I didn't have anything to. I don't know. I was just wondering what. Do you have any idea what that is?
No, sir. I'm not familiar with that practice.
Okay.
Do you?
Okay,
I
I
know
was
we-
just curious.
we-
I was just
we-
curious about it.
We do get we have some issues with motorcycles on a milled surface because they have a tendency it hurts their balance. So I would be a little leery of that, but I'm not sure what that's for.
I mean, it was really light,
Okay.
mill, but it was still milled. You know, you could see it on the surface, and I was just curious what they were going after there.
Maybe it was an increase in friction
Yeah,
for the
texture.
road. You know, might be something to do with a safety effort. We
have a
can look
slip.
into it for you.
It's not that important. I was just curious. Thank you.
Patrick, educate me a little bit, Rex, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I've been called worse.
Really?
Not much. Not much, but a little.
Educate me a little bit on this. 2 milling machines for the state?
Yes, sir.
In the fleet in the state. Spread pretty thin, I assume.
Yes, sir.
Or what's the need for this type of maintenance milling around the state?
Well, primarily we use, the contractor is part of a construction project. So a lot of our milling and profiling goes along with our overlay or pavement preservation program. These two just really support the maintenance crews, and with their limited, they have more limited needs. So the two crews have been able to keep up with the state maintenance for several years like this.
Okay, so you feel like we're adequately staffed?
Yes, sir.
And have enough. How much one of those machines cost?
Ooh, I'd hate to guess now. Danny? Sir? $1 million.
Apiece. All right.
And they're a lot of maintenance. They're the teeth on them. They take a lot of abuse.
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty expensive.
And my understanding is it's not, in this particular part, it's not the maintenance as much as it is the staff who will go across the state and spend the night away from home and work and come back. Is that correct?
That's
more of a
getting harder and
challenge
harder to
at this
handle.
point.
Yes.
But to reiterate, we have the machines we need, we have the staff we need now to adequately service the state for this need, this particular.
For this function, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah, there's. In recent years, the Maintenance Division ITS section has done a great job of installing and maintaining the department's growing array of traffic cameras that are visible on iDrive, Arkansas. We currently have 360 cameras available for public to view current weather conditions and traffic across the state. The Traffic Management Center monitors these cameras 24/7 to report traffic issues to the local law enforcement and to assist in expediting emergency response. And it is very beneficial to the districts, and we're fighting snow and ice to get a real visual of the road conditions, get a bird's eye view of that. Our Maintenance Division technicians have installed 61 additional traffic cameras in this year so far, and have 8 more planned for the year, and anticipate installing 58 next year as we expand our system. Speaking of cameras, RDOT began its first speed enforcement cameras in August, following that passage of Act 707. And we would like to acknowledge and thank Senator Kim Hammer and Representative Lanny Fife for introducing this legislation that made this possible. The speed enforcement is mounted, as you can see here, on a trailer device that shows a photo on the left here. Our highway police has been using this speed camera solely on the I-30 widening job from Haskell to Benton, where they've issued approximately 1,900 warnings and almost 400 citations. Have been written since August 1st. But our goal is not citations and warnings. What I'm excited to report is the slide you see here before you. A significant reduction in work zone crashes on this project since the cameras have been installed. For the months of August, September, and October, We have seen a 35% reduction in commercial motor vehicle crashes and 28% overall reduction in crashes. We're working toward a second camera to increase this ability across the state as we progress with our projects. Early data shows that the speed enforcement camera is working, and we hope it continues to decrease crashes.
Rex?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Along with the cameras, how many more officers have to, I mean, when they're working, because these aren't the type that, I mean, they don't read the license plate where the state issues a citation to them later. So when they're working, you've got to have
We have to have
officers
at least, need one officer.
Okay.
Yes, the system works by taking a picture and the violation and sends it to the officer downstream, who then stops the violator off the job site. So one officer can operate this system.
Okay. And then right now, out on I-30, for instance, there's quite a few.
Yes, sir. But they do have a team that kind of monitors, and they move around to different jobs, and they specialize in monitoring our construction zones. And so that team may be, it'll focus on this for a while, then it'll move to another job. Yes, sir.
Okay. So when they're not there, I guess the cameras are, turned off?
They may be working, collecting data, but we don't enforce citations or,
Okay.
yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
That's the exciting thing is they're pulling over people outside of the work zone, especially this project because it's very tight, very dangerous. So being able to be out of the zone, pull people over, and then people entering and leaving the zone to see those people getting pulled over is really great.
I think that's made as big a difference as anything. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate what David said earlier. I think you already answered the question I was getting ready to ask, but these are not speed cameras per se that issue the tickets themselves from the camera.
That's
It
correct.
requires somebody to be on site, so it's, like you said, downstream, so they're out of the work zone.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
That's correct.
thanks.
Well, it slowed me down.
That was our main goal.
That's why we had so many out there this morning, because we knew you were coming, so. Okay. As I mentioned in our last meeting, we were anticipating and have accomplished our winter weather tabletop preparedness exercise on October 31st, where our Traffic Management Center, Public Information District staff were involved in a preparatory event. This exercise allowed our staff to test the various reporting systems, communications, iDrive, and statewide coordination calls. During the month of October, each district tested and calibrated their winter weather equipment, held training classes to prepare their crews to respond to the various winter weather scenarios, along with chainsaw training classes and snowplow simulator training. Winter weather is around the corner, and RDOT is prepared as best we can be. However, much depends on what Mother Nature throws at us, and as some of the more seasoned in the crowd will remember,
It's not nice to fool Mother Nature.
I thought it was funny. Tough crowd. We were recently highlighted in this event, this prep class or preparatory training by one of our local news stations, and we'd like to play this video that they presented.
Before I play the video, we have two movie stars in the audience today that were interviewed for this piece that the TV stations did. Of course, Derek Wyatt, our state maintenance engineer, was interviewed, along with Tim Cowdy. He's a striper truck operator. Is that correct, Tim? If I got that right? And he did such an excellent job being interviewed, and I was impressed the way he was able to articulate and talk about what was going on with this winter weather preparedness exercise. So I wanted to meet him, and I got to meet him. It was yesterday, wasn't it, at the maintenance? Monday. Okay, it's all running together. For me.
Hey, don't let fame go to your head. Don't correct the director.
But I got to meet him, and he is just an outstanding young man that's done so much, and he's just the epitome of what we are so proud of in the field with our maintenance forces. He's a veteran from the Marine Corps. He's trying to get his civil engineering degree by taking online classes at night while he works all day, and so I'm so proud of him. And then I just want to point that out because he's in the crowd, and you'll see what I'm talking about as I play this clip from the news station.
As people prepare for these colder temperatures, winter weather is also on the mind of the Department of Transportation. RDOT's winter weather strike team executed a statewide emergency preparedness drill today. Our Neil Zerang joins us live in North Little Rock with what's new in the state's response this year. Neil.
Good evening, Kevin and Donna. Some pieces are in place and some are still yet to come. I'm standing in front of what will soon be the second largest salt house in the state, right behind one in Mountain Home. It's expected to come by Christmas, but today it was all about getting equipment fired up and ready for the ice and snow. When there's snow, ice, and state roads are impassable, it's the winter weather strike team's job to mobilize.
I know you'll see us out on a bright sunny day, not a cloud in the sky, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to go ahead and get our operators comfortable with the equipment again.
Tim Cowdy's normally behind the wheel of a paint truck, but in winter, he's making a line in the snow, running his snowplow route Tuesday from Little Rock to Morrilton.
Across the state, we've got, probably over 1,000 people involved in the exercise today.
From checking equipment to computers.
Everything looks good to go.
And the communications chain. Everything got a thorough pass. State Maintenance Engineer Derek Wyatt says the annual drill only became statewide a few years ago and has expanded every year since.
We try to prepare for the worst and hope for the best when it comes to winter weather, because you can predict it all day long, but you don't know what's going to happen until it actually falls out of the sky.
What's new in 2023 includes more one-ton pickup plows, brighter lights on the snow plows, and even forward-facing cameras so the plows can be monitored back at HQ. Each check is preventing dreams of a white Christmas from becoming a nightmare for drivers.
It helps us by helping you.
A big part of today was dusting off the iDrive winter weather map. It'll launch tomorrow and run through March. So every vehicle you saw, those snowplows have the ability to update that with the current conditions, whether it's slush, ice, snow. So if you want to know the latest stuff, you have to go there. You can find where to find it, iDrive Arkansas, on our story on fox16.com. Reporting live in North Little Rock, Neil Zerang, back to you.
So I thought that was great coverage, and I appreciate our maintenance division. I appreciate you, Tim and Derek. Thank you for representing the department so well. Next, I have an update about the 2024 total solar eclipse from Steve Frisbee.
All right, thank you, Director, Commission. Speaking of planning for the worst, as we haven't even approached our winter weather season, we already have to be planning ahead for this eclipse. So the good news is the countdown to the 2024 Great North American Eclipse has begun. As you can see here, we are 124 days away from the eclipse, and I just want to give a very brief update on our continued planning efforts. So as we're, just a quick comment, as we reach the 100-day mark, which is going to be after Christmas, Dave Parker and our communications team is going to really be ramping up our efforts with the media and the public. You know, this time of year, everybody's thinking about Christmas, so we really are going to wait till after Christmas to start ramping up that public outreach campaign. As far as our preparations, as you recall, in the October 25th commission meeting, The RDOT Solar Eclipse Traffic Management Plan, or TMP, was approved for distribution. This TMP was shared with other state agencies, our neighboring DOTs, along with cities and counties through the Arkansas Division of Emergency Management, or ADEM. Our district engineers and our resident engineers around the state have begun coordination efforts at the local level, whether state police, our mayors, county judges, sheriffs, and emergency managers, and they've started receiving feedback to further refine this plan. We are working with the Parks and Tourism to share traffic-related information on their website, which is arkansas.com/eclipse. And their website has a countdown timer, an interactive map, and a multitude of event information for the various cities. And they're building this website out with links and frequently asked questions, driving tips, weather, and more. So we're going to be able to partner with Parks and Tourism to provide this type of information. Our internal planning efforts are ongoing as we coordinate our statewide resources for pre-positioning staff and equipment at key locations on our high volume and priority routes, along with our welcome centers and rest areas, to ensure that we have optimal traffic flow, minimize disruptions, and be ready to respond to emergency situations and assist stranded motorists. I am excited that our team's been collaborating with the Arkansas Trucking Association, and we're excited to share about this new partnership with DriveWise. DriveWise provides real-time in-cab safety alerts, congestion alerts, and important travel information for commercial truck drivers, or CMVs. Utilizing this DriveWise platform during the solar eclipse will be a great tool to communicate directly with our CMVs on Arkansas highways during this critical time to improve safety and reduce congestion for all drivers. The good news is our partnership with DriveWise will continue beyond the eclipse as well. It'll provide travel and safety information to truck drivers on a daily basis and during future emergency events. So during the April 8th eclipse, I cannot promise a congestion-free day. It's not going to be an easy travel day on April 8th, but I can assure you that RDOT is working hard to prepare for this historic event. We will be ready to serve and to do all we can to make this a great experience for visitors and travelers to the natural state. This concludes my update this month. I'll have more to come in the next meeting, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
One question on the system there that we'll use. Is that a push alert from us to the trucks? Is that how that works?
Yes, sir. So there's several neat things that it does. For example, the congestion ahead. So this is going to partner with our iDrive website. And so automatically, real time, just like you can go on Google Maps and see that, here it will actually push to the driver when they're a certain distance ahead of the congestion. We can also push out what we call PSAs, or public service announcements. So we're working with DriveWise when they reach a certain point that we specify in the state. It could be when they enter the state, or it could be outside the state. It'll push out a PSA at a certain time that says, solar eclipse, turn on your headlights, don't park on the shoulder. So there's things like that. It also does virtual signs, and so you've all seen the trucks rollover signs, or the steep grade, or the brake check, and sadly we've seen trucks rolled over. So instead of relying on that driver to see that sign on the side of the road, we partner with DriveWise, and it will automatically pop up, as you see on the screen there, in cab, and warn them on any type sign that we deem necessary. So these really sharp curves and high traffic, high crash areas, that virtual sign will immediately populate to the truck.
Have we looked into these push alerts for iDrive Arkansas, just for motor vehicles outside of commercial trucks?
So the iDrive website, the issue is there you're driving a vehicle, and so we don't necessarily encourage drivers while they're driving to use that. Now, there are other apps, example, the Waze app, if you're familiar with that.
Yes.
And we're also partnering with Waze. I was going to share that in a future time, but I'll mention that now. So that's a partnership we have with Waze. So for those that use the Waze app, we're in the middle of agreements with them to push that type of data to Waze. And so Waze is a crowdsourcing platform typically, where if somebody sees a car on the side of the road or debris in the road, they can push a button and then it crowdsources all of that data, and then other drivers that come see that. So in addition to that, we can actually push 2 ways real data that we find. So if there's flooding on the road, a tree across the road, a maintenance work zone, it will push to Waze and do the same thing. So it's just that technology we're advancing to catch the commercial drivers through DriveWise and connect to the other drivers through Waze and other type platforms.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for
Thank
that update. Next, we'll move on to recent department activities. The American Public Works Association, Ronnie Lowe's here today. I got invited to go up and speak to that group on October 26th in Fayetteville. They had some vendors there. There was a good number of people there, and we had a great conversation, and I did a presentation on what's going on at RDOT. And we talked a little bit about preparing for winter weather. The Southeastern Asphalt Users Producers Group, which is called CPUG. Anyway, I kind of double teamed up on that. It was a breakfast meeting, and I went to speak to the group and welcome them to that conference, to the CPUG conference. But I teamed up with Paul Tinsley. He's over our materials division, our materials engineer. And he's a great speaker, and he's very passionate about asphalt because the Southeastern Asphalt User and Producers Group, they're very excited to hear anything new going on with asphalt. So I started it off, and then I turned it over to him, and he talked about turning our big ship of RDOT and producing amazing asphalt and all the things that we're doing to work with industry and make our products so much better than they've ever been before. The next day, the following day, on November 15th, some of us attended the Good Roads Foundation annual meeting here in Little Rock. I was asked to speak about workforce challenges. It was a great meeting. Joe Quinn's here today. I think I saw him come in, and as usual, he puts on a great meeting, and the theme of the meeting was workforce challenges. So we had a perspective from the broad look from the Secretary of, well, what is he? Workforce Development. So he's really doing some big statewide initiatives and talked a lot about that. And then I talked about what we're doing at RDOT, at this state agency, to try to address our challenges. So it was really a well-attended meeting, and it was a good meeting. We also honored Dan Flowers' service as the outgoing president and welcomed the new president of Good Roads, Robert Morey. So that was an exciting day. Would you like to say a few words, Joe, or address?
It was a great event. We sure appreciate the support on so many levels, both personally and as commissioners. And we're excited about this summer. We're working with you all to continue the summer meeting, which we'll push into September this year to stay out of your way on SASHDO. So a lot of good things coming this year, and we sure appreciate your support.
Thank you, Joe. We appreciate your support and Good Roads support in general. Yeah. All right. Next, a couple of weeks later, on November 29th, we went up to Hardy to cut a ribbon on the new Spring River Bridge. That's on County Road 42. And that is a relatively small project, and it was a county road project, but that project meant so much to that community. And Parker and his communications team really put on a great ribbon cutting event. We enjoyed it, and what was really cool about it, because as you know, Alec and Philip were there, the old low water bridge was visible from the new bridge. We were on the new bridge to cut the ribbon, but you could look and see what those folks had been driving on for all those years. Was it an over 100-year-old bridge? Yeah. So it's phenomenal to see how much transportation infrastructure can change lives. One of the biggest takeaways was we had a couple of representatives there, but one of those representatives owned an ambulance business. And the talk about when the water was up and that low water bridge was not passable, it was a 45-minute detour to get to provide those emergency services. So many things that you don't really think about, but that are really tangible benefits to investing in transportation. And that was really a good visual of what that was about at that event. So that was about it. So right now, I'd like to invite Jared Wiley, our Chief Engineer of Pre-Construction, to come up. You know, we're about to start off the next cycle of STIP development, so I thought it would be a good time to just go over the basics on how we do that, and Jared's going to provide that for us.
Thank you, Director. Now, I don't want to speak for everybody in the room here, but I'll tell you, some of us, the STIP is our favorite acronym we use around the department, and we like the STIP. And we use it daily on the pre-construction side of the agency. But what does the STIP stand for? It's good to know what these letters mean. The STIP is the Statewide Transportation Improvement Program. It's important because it's for a sports analogy, it's our playbook. Without the STIP, the public doesn't know what we're working to deliver for them over the next 4 years. Without the STIP, our staff doesn't know where to focus their efforts and attention each day. So it's very important to us here at the department. The STIP is required to cover 4 federal fiscal years, at least 4 federal fiscal years, and it has to be financially constrained. We can't include more projects in the STIPs than we expect to have money for over that time period. Our current STIP, if you recall, it covers fiscal years 23 through 26, contains 814 projects covering 4,100 miles of highways, 270 bridges, and $4.4 billion worth of work. So it's a big effort. It's a big deal for us. Federal funds cannot be used on any project that's not included in the STIP. So where do we start, or how do we decide what projects to include in the STIP? The STIP, again, it's always on our mind. We update it every 2 years. This means as soon as the STIP is approved, our staff begins work immediately to start working on the next STIP. With each cycle, we add 2 years of projects. So we add 2 years to replace the 2 years that have transpired. This ensures that we have a constant stream of projects for the staff to work on. It ensures that we don't drop a whole lot of new projects in our laps at once and overwhelm them. So to identify, next slide please. To identify this universe of projects is simply a list of ideas that can come from anybody. We get these ideas from the public. We get them from legislators, department subject matter experts, metropolitan planning organizations, and other transportation partners. We get these, as you see on the screen, these are actual documents that we use to feed the STIP. So we get letters, some still handwritten letters, emails, phone calls, planning or safety studies that our staff works on that you approve here at the commission. And we look at the pavement and bridge needs of the state. So once we have that universe of projects, we categorize them into 3 main categories. So a safety project, a system preservation project that helps us to take care of our existing infrastructure, or capital improvement or economic development type projects. At this point, we're working on that next STIP that'll add years 2027 and 2028 to our program. We're looking at nearly 1,000 requested projects covering billions of dollars. So that's what we're working with now. We rely heavily to do this. We rely heavily on the data that our staff around the department works diligently, again, daily, to collect and maintain. This data includes condition data, asset condition data about our pavements and bridges. Our bridge inspectors are out working daily. Our pavement technicians are out there collecting data as well each day. Safety data is collected by our law enforcement partners around the state and processed by our traffic safety division. We use this data to help us make decisions especially when it comes time to update the STIP. We also use our traffic count information that is collected by our System Information and Research Division here right behind the main building. They conduct over 12,000 counts annually to help us plan our highway system. So once we have all this data and we have all the requested list of projects, we use a software package called Decision Lens to help us get this done. And then back to the sports analogy, this is a software we've been using for over a decade now, but when we started using it, we learned that many professional sports teams use this same software package to help decide who to draft and hire when they're making decisions as well. So it's very powerful. All the projects that we have in the hopper, the 1,000 I mentioned, they go through this routine. So we compare those based on safety data, condition data, mobility, including how much traffic's there, how much excess volume is there on the road, how much more volume that roadway can handle, economic competitiveness, including connectivity. Is it on the 4-lane grid system, on the primary highway network? What's the truck percentage there? And then we look at performance measures that we're required to try to hit based on the prescriptive measures the federal government has put in place. So we take all that information, we run it through Decision Lens, and it spits out a ranking similar to what you see on the screen there. Okay? Once we get this ranking, we don't just accept what the computer spits out. We get our district engineers for that boots on the ground approach to review the data. We get our subject matter experts around the department to weigh in to make sure that we calibrate what we're seeing from Decision Lens. So at this point, now once we get that ranking established, we start looking at how much funding we're going to have, because we need to be constrained. Like I mentioned before, we can't put more in the STIP than we can afford. So we're working on that now. It's estimated this update will include about $2.2 billion in new projects for 2027, 2028 combined. And in general, the commission has directed us to distribute that funding on about a 75-25% basis. So 75 is going to be going towards taking care of what we have. 25% set aside for capital improvements, economic improvement type projects. This direction helps us to do a lot of legwork before we sit down with you all and start talking about that STIP. After your input and direction, we release the STIP for public comment and publish it in newspapers. It's a 30-day comment period. We send it over to over 1,000 people, entities to look at. And once that comment period ends, our staff looks at every comment we receive and responds to every comment in kind. So if we receive an email, we respond in kind. If we receive a written letter, we respond in writing. We summarize all those comments, come back to the commission, show you how we resolve those, and then we work to try to finalize that draft STIP. So the timeline here, where are we headed, right? Where are we headed? We're talking about this today because there's another milestone coming up soon. So this timeline shows you that January, February timeframe. Director Tudor, Kelly Wiley, Erica Adams, division head of our program management division, and I will sit down with each of you individually to talk about statewide priorities, show you what we've got, what our rankings look like, and try to get some guidance and feedback from you there on putting that STIP together. After we do that, our staff will do some of the groundwork, legwork to compile all that information and wrap it into a draft STIP document that we'll present to you in June for your review and approval. And once you give us the go-ahead, we release that for public comment, as I mentioned before, and then we hope to see that STIP adopted come October of next year. That's when the federal fiscal year starts, so we'll roll 2 years off and add 2 more years on. So with that, I'll close and try to answer any questions that you may have.
Jerry, do you classify all the STIP projects according to districts over a period of time, just as a test, I guess, to see that projects are somewhat evenly distributed according to need in the state? Do you have is is there a test for that?
Well, we can run you as many reports as you'd like to see. But
No,
we,
I'm
but
not
we
talking
do.
about for me, I'm talking about for you.
Yes, sir, we do look at that. So I was going to tell you, we can get you anything you need, but we do look at that every time we put a STIP together. So we look at needs, pavement condition, bridge condition needs, but we also want to make sure we're spreading that money around the state as evenly as possible.
And do you do it by districts?
Yes, sir,
By-
typically, yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Jared, I just want to thank you and the team. I mean, I'm stunned every year when we put this together and take a look at the amount of work and the amount of information that's in, I mean, it's a huge report, and each page, each word represents so much research and data and has so much more to it than just what the report that we issue. And just thank you so much for all the work you do and keeping our system as healthy and successful as it is. We appreciate it.
Thank you. We're glad to do it, and I'll pass it on to our staff, and we learn from the best sitting right here in front of you, so.
Hey, I just want to make a point, I guess. When you were talking about districts, Philip, you're talking about highway districts?
Yes.
Okay, well, the way we've got these highway districts set up, if I'm not mistaken, is it's not based on population, it's based on highway miles. So each district essentially has the same amount of highway miles, is that?
That's correct, but some districts have more bridges than others.
Right, exactly.
So that's where,
Yes.
you know that.
But I just wanted to clarify that. And then also, I was kind of curious, I know when I first got on the commission 9 years ago, we were struggling to meet our federal match. And we said the reason that's so important to be able to have additional funds ready for federal matches, some states that can't meet their federal match have to turn back money, and then that money becomes available for other states like us that have the ability to do that. I'm just curious, over the last decade or whatever, do we have a number on the amount of projects we've been able to fund because we were adequately funded? And you don't have to answer the specifics right now, but I just didn't know if we kept up with that or.
We do. I don't have it in front of me, but I'd tell you the last 2 years in particular, we were able to secure additional $200 million total.
Can you believe
for
that?
That's just the last 2 years. So
That's us being prepared with projects and the adequate revenue to match those money.
And that's a
match those
testament
projects.
to our staff getting everything ready for us,
Absolutely.
and it's a great situation for us for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jared, and I'll echo Marie because I know how much work they put into it, how much pride they take in it. I was told early on in my career that the STIP is probably the most important document or report that we do at RDOT. And it's just, it's in good hands, and I appreciate y'all, what you do every day. And so it is a lot of work, but they do it well. Thank you. All right. Consultant selection for statewide travel demand model update. So the commission approved us in February of 2023 to engage the services of a qualified consultant to update the Arkansas travel demand model, which is used for planning purposes as we put together the STIP and other things of future projects. We've advertised, we had responses to the requests for letters of interest, and we were received from two firms, Alliance Transportation Group of Austin, Texas, and Cambridge Systematics of Medford, Massachusetts. The recommendations after the review by the committee is that we enter negotiations with Alliance Transportation Group of Austin, Texas. So at this point, I need a motion to authorize the department to begin those negotiations.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you for that. The next one is a consultant selection for on-call landslide repair services. The commission approved us to go out and solicit on-call services for federal aid emergency relief projects. We advertised for this, and we received 8 responses to the request for letters of interest. A short list of 3 firms was compiled, and for further consideration, and we asked for a detailed proposal from those 3 firms. Based on the evaluation committee review of the proposals, it is recommended that negotiations begin with all 3 of the shortlisted firms that are listed on the screen. It's Geostabilization International, LLC, of Commerce City, Colorado, Hinkle Environmental Services, LLC of Richmond, Kentucky, and Keller North America Incorporated of Little Elm, Texas. At this time, I need a motion to allow us to go into negotiations with these 3 firms.
And before I ask for that motion, this is something like what occurred up on Highway 23 a few years ago when it literally washed away the roadway, and we had to go in and build it back, essentially,
Yes.
right?
Yes, and this gives us, we've got them on call. We can grab them and say, go fix it immediately. We don't have to go through the long process or, and we work closely with Federal Highway on this to make sure we're.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion?
Laurie, so
Laurie.
you're hoping to be able to enter into contracts with all 3?
Yes, we'll have contracts with all 3 that puts them on an on-call list that we can use as needed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lori, it seems like I remember when we had the slide there on 23, whatever, we had developed a relationship with somebody in that area up there to handle this type of event. And so is this moving from that? These aren't people that we've used before. I'm just trying to figure out how we moved from having somebody that we called on to do that type of thing. I think it was mostly, of course, in the north part of the state, emergency use because they knew how to handle it and they had the equipment. And
I'm not familiar with that. Rex, are you? Jared, do you know about it?
So this is the same thing. It's just in a continuation of that. So this is probably our 3rd on calls for that situation.
Okay.
So we, after so many years, we have to re-up this, and so that's what we're doing here. Just getting another group on call.
so do you just rotate the calls, or does it happen very often? Do you have one every
It happens
year or every month? Or?
Yeah, it happens more often than we like. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And so Paul Tinsley, our maintenance, our materials division head, he works to select the proper consultant for each situation.
Oh, okay.
And so we have 3 here to choose from, so we can, make sure we're not overloading one when there's more work than they can handle.
Are they all situated locally to be able to respond to this type of thing, or they have to come from Texas or
They're
Colorado?
Most of them are out of state. It's a
Okay.
specialized contractor and a repair method, so they're coming from regionally. They're coming regionally. Yes, sir.
So this isn't an emergency service necessarily. This is a repair service after the emergency is over with.
Yes, our staff, and I'm getting into Rex's area, but our staff will stabilize that immediately if they can, and then we call them in to do a permanent repair, but it's still quicker than we can,
Mobilize
design a
your own,
project
yeah.
and take bids. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Question. I think I'd like to entertain a motion to approve this. Got a motion and a second? Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed.
Okay, and the last selection I'll cover today is for event monitoring software. The commission approved us to go out and authorized us to request and evaluate proposals to acquire the appropriate software and services needed to enhance the department's ability to monitor bridge structures to address the Federal Highway Administration's scour monitoring recommendations. A request for proposal was distributed in August, and the proposals were submitted to us. There were two firms that sent in a proposal. There were 2 interviews. And based on the committee of 5 RDOT subject matter experts, they have recommended that we begin negotiations with Bridge Intelligence, LLC of North Brunswick, New Jersey. I need a motion to allow us to begin those negotiations.
Okay, you heard the recommendation. Do I hear a motion?
So move.
Second? Got a second? Any other discussion or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
So upcoming events, mini district service awards. We've been to 2, and we went to maintenance division, and then beginning tomorrow all the way through the next couple of weeks, we'll be hitting all the districts. It's a great time to go and visit with the employees and have some good food. We're looking forward to, hope we get some catfish this year. Used to, we got it a lot, and now they've kind of branched out into other things which have been delicious, but we hope we at least have one catfish dinner, lunch, and one barbecue. But anyway, we really enjoy those, and we really appreciate our employees, and it's just a time to tell them how much we appreciate them and have some fellowship with them at the Christmas holidays. Some other things that are coming up outside of the service awards include, I have the Asher's Board Dinner. That's our retirement system. We have a Christmas dinner every year, and we'll be doing that. And then on January 4th, the Quality Asphalt Paving Conference. I'll be saying a few words at that conference. I have a PE board meeting on January 9th. We have an RDOT AAP, Arkansas Asphalt Pavement Association partnering meeting. We do that, what is it, Park, just about twice a year or a couple times a year. It's always great to just sit down and talk about issues and how we can just continue to get better and work better together as a team. And then your next commission meeting will be February 13th. So looking forward to the holidays and everything coming up, and then we'll see you again in February. Now on to some other business that I wanted to bring up to you, to the commission, is was a notice of funding opportunity from the Federal Highway Administration, or the USDOT, about the large bridge program. It's called the Bridge Investment Program, and the state of Tennessee has submitted an application to get that funding to replace the I-55 bridge over the Mississippi River. And because RDOT is a partner with Tennessee as far as maintaining and constructing that bridge, we're a co-applicant for that grant application. The existing I-55 bridge is about 74 years old or 75 years old by the first of the year. It was built in 1949, and it's been upgraded over the years, but it cannot be upgraded to be seismically retrofitted. So if anyone's familiar with that area, there's a New Madrid Fault that there was a very, very significant earthquake back in the 1800s, and it's been monitored ever since, and the scientists say that it could happen again, but what we are looking forward to is that old bridge, which is functionally obsolete. It's very narrow, and this particular grant program that's available, it may not be available during the next cycle of highway legislation, so we want to take advantage of that and get some significant federal help, grant money, discretionary grant money over and above our own funding to replace this functionally obsolete bridge. We think it's going to be hopefully, I think it's going to be a very competitive application because that's a major freight corridor. And if you know, the I-40 bridge, we had the emergency shutdown back in 2021, we spent, I think it was about, was it $200 million to seismically retrofit that bridge back in the 90s, in the early 2000s. That bridge was built in the 70s. And then we went back in, and Tennessee jointly with Arkansas did a seismic retrofit job on that I-40 bridge. But the I-55 bridge, if there was another earthquake with the New Madrid Fault, its chances of survival are slim. So this is a great opportunity for us, and I just want to make you aware of that. Tennessee's the lead state. They're submitting the application. Their consultant has worked up this application that they submitted. It's in Tennessee's court, but as a partner with Tennessee, because we share that bridge, we're listed on that application.
Just for context, those of us from Northeast Arkansas call the bridge built in 1973 the new bridge. So the 55 bridge was built in the 40s, I think.
1949.
Yeah, or opened in 40, yeah. So it's, we've gotten a lot of useful life out of that.
Lori, are you talking about going back and doing the retrofit for possible earthquake? Or are you talking about a tear down and rebuild?
It'll be a rebuild, but the new bridge will be seismically. It'll be able to withstand any kind of seismic event.
It should also be wider and better bridge.
Yes.
Overall.
I mean, overall, it'll be a better bridge because right now the lanes are very narrow. It's very. That's what functionally obsolete means. If we built that bridge today, it would not be the cross section you see now. It's not adequate for the traffic.
Okay.
So we'll go back with a better bridge. It'll be a better.
Is this tearing the deck off?
The whole structure will be removed and replaced. So what will probably happen, and Tennessee will be the lead state, and they're going to determine whether to do design bid build or construction manager, general contractor. They're going to make all those decisions. Of course, we'll be involved with all along the way. But what I suspect will happen is we'll get a contractor on board. They'll build the new bridge, adjacent to the old bridge. And once the new bridge is built, they'll remove the old bridge. And it'll be a brand new bridge.
Okay. I guess then I'm getting to my question. Basically, a new bridge for $800 million versus an I-69 bridge for $2 billion.
Well, the I-69 bridge is the approach work to establish that bridge, that river crossing, is what makes that so extremely expensive. For this, all the infrastructure is already there leading up to the bridge, so all we have to do is the structure itself.
Yeah, the tie-ins at both ends are going to remain the same location, or close to the same location.
Yeah, there'll be some adjustment. I mean, we'll see as this thing progresses. Right. With the Broadway Bridge, I think they floated that in. They built it off to the side, and then they floated it in. So.
Okay, you hear $2 billion now, 800. Okay.
Good question though, because. It is an extreme difference, but that's the difference. The actual structure itself, while expensive, it's mainly the approach work leading up to that actual crossing that gets so expensive.
And Tennessee's doing a huge project right now that's under construction just past this bridge, just over the bridge. They've got a huge ongoing project.
They do.
I wanted to ask, the large bridge grant program, is it under IIJA or is it a standalone program?
It's under IIJA. It's a new program under IIJA. Okay. And I will say it can only be used for projects like this.
I was going to make that point that it's only replacement of existing bridges. It's not a new bridge program.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
That's right. And the competitiveness of this application should be significant because of the freight corridor and that added resiliency component of the New Madrid Fault and the earthquake, the probability of another earthquake sometime in the future.
There's three things really: the seismic, the truck, the freight, and the fact that we actually know what happens when one of those bridges is closed down. So it's not some theoretical discussion here. We know the impact of closing one of those bridges across the Mississippi River. So I think it'd be a good application.
Yeah.
Commissioner Hake,
Yes, sir.
I was just wondering if you were kind of fishing around, you all need a bridge over there over the Red River. Maybe we could float that down and put it. Well, I was wondering where that was going. It probably, you don't have to worry about earthquakes too much down there. I thought maybe you could, just checking. Okay.
Moving along.
Okay, so on November 30th, the U.S. Department of Transportation announced the notice of funding opportunity for the Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity grants. The deadline for this is February 28, 2024, and staff is recommending that we get applications ready to submit for I-49 in Sebastian and Crawford counties and future I-57 in Northeast Arkansas. And we'll get that together for the I-49. The total cost for that project that we want to submit for is about $850 million. So we're going to try to get that resubmit, and we're going to continue working to get that federal funding in place to fully fund that project. Let's see, the future I-57 project, which will construct an interstate facility on new location between Walnut Ridge and the Missouri state line. That total project cost is about $550 million. And let's see, the final determination on which segment we're going to apply for will be based on the benefit cost analysis that has to accompany these applications. We're coordinating with Missouri DOT, and they're working on their portion as well. Once complete, that small segment of future I-57 will connect Little Rock to Chicago. So it's a pretty significant gap in the system, but once it's built, it's going to provide a great connection between Little Rock and Chicago. Would you like to talk any more?
Oh, no, I'm glad to hear we're working with the MoDOT up there. I think it makes our application much stronger, having joint work, much like what happened over in Bella Vista and I-49.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with that, I just need a motion that gives us approval to get those applications ready and submitted to USDOT.
Okay, you've heard the staff recommendation. Do I hear a motion? Motion. How about a second?
Second.
Second. Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right.
Lori, quick question on that. The applications have to be filed in February. When do you expect them to answer or to make a decision? How long does it usually take?
That's the $100 million question. Well, I will say that we're still waiting on an answer from the last application cycle, right, Jared? There was we just feel like any day they're going to make the announcement, and we submitted. The same process, but it's I-49 is what we submitted, and we're waiting to hear any day now whether or not we were successful. One positive thing is we've received a couple of calls to clarify some things in the application, and that's always a good sign that it didn't just get tossed to the side. They're looking at it with some intent.
As
maybe.
I recall, though, you didn't apply for that one to pay for the full cost, the $800.
No, it's for the whole segment from Barling up to Alma.
For the entire cost of that project?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't remember that being that.
In the RAISE grant, they're going to let us know by June 27th if we were funded or not.
For not this one.
For this one.
Oh,
We expect
okay.
to hear any time about the other round.
Well.
And we applied for $100 million through the MEGA program for 49.
100 million.
100 million, yes.
But this one, if I understood what you said, you're going to apply for the entire cost of the
The
project?
maximum we can apply for on this one is 25 million. So
Oh.
we're just trying to get any bit of help we can there.
Where am I misunderstanding you?
The cost of your segment, the overall cost
Right?
that we're trying to fund is $850 million.
You're not asking for 800?
No, that's just the cost of it for I-49.
Okay.
I'm sorry if I didn't make that clear.
Lori, who, now I'll see if I'm understanding this at all. You can tell by the question I ask. Who does the cost benefit study on this? Did
We have a
Federal Highway do it, or do we get an independent
consultant.
consultant
Our
to
cons-
do it?
a
or-
cons- We have a consultant that helps because it's an extremely involved process.
Yeah. So does the same one do the study on both of them?
No, okay.
So HNTB is helping us with Interstate 49, and Garver's helping us with Interstate 57.
Okay.
Yeah. And so then once we do that benefit cost, the USDOT will check our numbers, check our math, and make sure they agree with it. But it's a complex process, certainly.
Okay, thank you.
And they've been really tenacious. I mean, we've lost grants in the past, and they've done a really good job. The staff has, going back on postmortem and trying to figure out what the magic application is, and constantly reworking to fit these projects into those grant applications. And it's not an easy job.
And then finally, on November 8th, we held our annual equipment auction of used vehicles, road machinery, equipment, and implements. This year's auction was held at our auctioneer's facilities, Blackman Auctions, located in Lone Oak, Arkansas. We had our equipment and procurement staff and our auctioneer did a great job. There was a total of 474 items sold, which included some of our older equipment. We roll over the fleet, and so all the old goes, we get as much money as we can out of all the old things that were no longer in use, and then roll that back into our equipment budget to buy the new equipment so that we've got good equipment ready to go for winter weather or whatever's going to be happening. The total proceeds were about $2.2 million, and after we paid the auctioneer's commission, we received about $2 million for these old pieces of equipment. So it was a great auction. I appreciate Danny and his team for doing that. And they do it so well. We do it once a year, right, Danny? It's great. This is pretty cool. Some of the higher priced items that were sold was a 2012 Case 850 dozer. We got a 2012 dozer went for $45,000. So that's pretty. These old pieces of equipment, and they're at the end of their useful life, but we're able to salvage a little value out of them, and it's great. Okay, so I'm going to end today with, now the commissioners have seen this, but this was our video Christmas card to the staff this year. Our communications division, not as new anymore, but our videographer helped put this together, and this is what we're playing at all the service awards. And anyone watching online and those of you in the staff today, I thought you would enjoy our video Christmas card to our employees and to all of you as well. So that's our Christmas card, and we've been playing that at the service awards. And I'm also challenging our employees to do a fundraising for a permanent Arkansas Department of Transportation Fallen Workers Memorial. I know I've mentioned that at our last meeting, but we put together a video that shows what other states are doing as far as a permanent memorial, just to get those creative juices to going, because we're asking our employees to give us their ideas of what it should look like, and then get involved with our fundraising efforts so that we can fund that. And where we would house it, it will, you would think it would probably be here at the central offices, but it may not be. I want to hear ideas from everybody. But I would like to play for you now this video that shows what other states have done to have a permanent memorial to honor their fallen DOT workers across the nation. So we're looking forward to 2024 and what it's going to bring, and in this effort to hopefully this time next year, when we have our final meeting of the year, we'll be well underway with a permanent RDOT Fallen Worker Memorial. I'm looking forward to that. And with that, I'd just like to tell everyone Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and may God bless all your families and yours. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Director. I was curious, would you let us know when you get an organization and an account set up to accept donations for the fallen worker? I said, would you just let us know once you get the account or organization or whatever is going to be the one receiving the donation?
Yes, I will. We're going to be working on that, and then after the first of the year, Marie's graciously going to help us with that. She has some great experience in fundraising, so she's going to help us get things set up. Great. And then I'll let everyone know how that's going to look.
Thank you. Just a couple of quick, are you done? Okay. I just had a couple of quick comments circling back on some things we talked about earlier. Of course, Dan Flowers served as a director here for 17 years. He served, I guess, at least 4, maybe 5 years as president of Arkansas Good Roads. He's stepped down, and Robert Moore has been elected as the new president of Arkansas Good Roads. So glad to know it's someone so close to us and in good hands there. Just keep Robert in your thoughts. And then I just want to say something about that Spring River Bridge project. That probably, it was a $3.5 million project, so it wasn't one of our biggest projects by a long shot, but it meant more to that community. And it really, I was so glad I attended that event with the mayor showed up, both county judges, it sits on the county line. They had the band there. The judge gave us a history, or the mayor there gave us a history lesson going back to the 1800s, I guess. So it was really a neat event, and I encourage you to not just go to the big events, but to attend a couple of these small ones that really impact these communities across the state. That's all I have. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to say? All right, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. See you next year.